Attention wrestling fans, you're now about to listen to the man coming down the aisle from the main streets of South Hogan, Illinois, with a microphone in his hand and questions on his mind. This is What Do You Say with DDJ.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 26 of What Do You Say with DDJ. As always, I am your host, DDJ. Real quick, stay tuned for the end of the show because I have two big announcements concerning this show, and they are big. So let's get to it. Joining me this week on What Do You Say with DDJ is the Gold Rush Solomon Stone. He is 1/3 of the Sin City Playboys. The other two members are former guests of this show. That would be Rockstar Johnny Nye and Mr. Made for TV Tolly Bertarelli. Solomon's gracious enough to take some time out of his day to chat with me, and I hope you enjoy what we discussed. So kick back, grab your favorite cold one, grab some food, get in your favorite recliner or comfy spot, and enjoy episode 26 of What Do You Say with DDJ. My guest this week, Mr. Solomon Stone, the Gold Rush.
This is Rockstar Johnny Nye, and you're listening to What Do You Say with DDJ. And make sure you catch the newest episode featuring yours truly. What other reason could you possibly need to tune in outside of the fact that I'm on it? I mean, come on, people. And for those of you who don't tune in, be gone.
Welcome back to another episode of What Do You Say with DDJ, and joining me this week is 1/3 of the Sin City Playboys. You might remember the other two members. That would be Rockstar Johnny Nye and Mr. Made for TV Tolly Bertarelli, former guest of the show, and I figured I've had them on, so why not get the last member of the group on there? So joining me today is the Gold Rush, Solomon Stone. Solomon, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Can't complain, man. You know, I wish I tell you I'm loving this weather, but I'd be lying to you because I hate this weather. I've already shoveled my driveway twice, so
I don't mind it once in a while, but it's I'm already over it. So
yeah. I was over it back, I think, when we got our first snowfall here in Illinois back, I think, around Thanksgiving time or something. So I do not like the snow.
Yeah.
And that's all. All right, so let's get right into it. Tell me about your how you discovered professional wrestling.
Well, it all started at a young age, of course, just like usually anybody else. It's kind of one of those things where I was like 5, 6, when one of those years. But I just remember being at my grandma's house, looking through the channels, and I happened to catch some WCW Saturday Night, and William Regal was on TV.
Ooh.
Not sure why I remember that, but that's kind of when I saw it first, and I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. So then started renting tapes left and right, and the rest is history.
Right. So who were when you first started watching William Regal? First off, criminally underrated in the world of professional wrestling.
Big time. Yeah.
But so who were some of like the early your early favorites that you watched when you first got into it?
Well, my number one dude was Hulk Hogan. You know, the red and yellow, the huge muscles, the bleach blonde hair, the tan, the charisma, everything. And he's kind of what really caught my eye and drew me to that. And I was a Hulkamania from day one. And then I ended up, being a really big Bret Hart fan. Guys like him, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker. And then as I kind of grew older, The Rock, Stone Cold, Eddie Guerrero, those kind of guys. So
nice.
A wide variety.
Nice, yeah. So who would you say is your favorite of all time? Is it Hogan or is it somebody else?
Man, that's so tough. Like, because I kind of, you go through different ages and stuff, so you have your different guys. But man, the one for me would probably have to be The Rock. Okay. But that's tough too, because man, in my adult adult years now, I appreciate Eddie Guerrero so much more, even before he passed away and stuff like that. So, I mean, The Rock, and it'd have to be a tie-up between those two for sure.
Okay, it's a great pair there. My personal favorite of all time is Ric Flair. I'm a Flair guy. I always will be. So
there you go.
And that. So about what age were you when you decided that professional wrestling was something you wanted to pursue?
It's something that I've always wanted to do. Ever since I've seen it, so it's like, dang, that's what I want to do. This is awesome. But when I really kind of decided that this is, what I want to do is, more in my later, I guess you could say late teens, early 20s. Just, I want to do this. So I started looking up schools, and then, it was kind of one of those things where I just kind of kept, putting it off. But then I moved to Iowa because my father lived there, and I was kind of randomly at a pizza ranch, and I saw a wrestling event poster kind of for, a local promotion there. So I was like, oh, sweet. I'm going to check it out. Did a little bit of stalking and found him on Facebook, messaged him, and then, started a little bit of training. So
Gotcha.
I eventually got there and did it. So
awesome. Well, first off, before we proceed any further, Pizza Ranch, awesome place. I know it's not where I live. We don't have any here. I know there's a couple up in Wisconsin, and I've been to them up there, and man, the food there is awesome. Their buffet,
delicious. The only thing though that I have some beef with Pizza Ranch, man. They never have mac and cheese. How can you not have mac and cheese with that? Plus chicken, mashed potatoes, corn, all that stuff. But what can you do?
Now, are you talking mac and cheese pizza or just mac and cheese in general?
Mac and cheese.
Okay. Yeah, I was out with some friends yesterday. We're recording on Sunday, so I was out with some friends. It was Saturday, and we went to CC's for lunch, and I definitely made sure I got me a piece of mac and cheese pizza. That's good stuff, man.
Yeah, you better get it while you can. I heard they just filed for bankruptcy or something like that.
Yeah. So and then don't sleep on, but man, though, Pizza Ranch is top notch. It's like one place. My wife and I, when we go up to the Dells for like family vacation and stuff, that's one of our places we always make it a point to go to. So,
oh yeah.
So getting back into wrestling, because I could talk about pizza all day, but going back into wrestling, so you've made the decision, you wanted to become a professional wrestler. What was the reaction that you got from like your family and your friends when you went to them and said that I want to be a professional wrestler and that's what I'm going to do?
A little bit of a mixed reaction. My friends were like, oh, that's awesome, blah blah, and a lot of people are like, yeah, we'll see. I'm pretty sure that's what they're thinking. You're not going to leave hometown and go pursue this. But my mom, she was, obviously being a supportive mother, but I, and one of those things I feel like in the back of her head, she really didn't want me to do it just because, all the possible injuries and stuff like that.
Right.
But now that I've, been doing this and pursued it, went through all these crazy times just to do it. My friends like, man, that's pretty sweet. They, check out all my footage. I've had friends come to, events. My family came to a couple events. So they're all pretty supportive and thinking. So
that's awesome and stuff. So it's always kind of cool, like when you go to these shows and, you see your mom there and, your friends there and stuff like that. You ever been in a situation? Because actually I had C Red on a few weeks ago on my show, and he told a really cool story about how his dad was like not a huge fan of him becoming a professional wrestler, but like when he went to see him, his dad went to see him wrestle for the first time. He talked about like his dad trying to hit this guy that was beating on him with his cane and stuff. You got any good stories like that with like your mom forgetting what you actually do and not understanding and all that?
Yeah, the first match, so it was my mom, my sister, my aunt, and I think a couple other people, a couple friends of mine showed up with their families. But the first match they ever been to of mine, and it was actually a Secret Santa street fight. So you know how that goes. We got, chairs, thumbtacks, garbage can lids, everything you possibly think of. Yeah, it was pretty sweet. And they showed up. My mom and aunt, I think, had a couple signs, for me. I'm a heel. Always pretty much been a heel most of my wrestling career. So I come out for the, entrance, and I kind of spot where they were. And they're like, yeah, cheering for me. grabbed the signs, just ripped them up and threw them on the ground.
Now, did they know you were going to do that?
No, it's just one of those things. I'm like, I'm just gonna go over there and rip those signs.
That's
I don't
awesome.
want anybody cheering for me, But yeah, I mean, that was the first thing that they witnessed in that, crazy match that I had, and actually I ended up getting power bombed on thumbtacks. So that was fun, but quite an experience for my family, I'm sure.
Yeah. So a couple things I want to ask about it. First, that's a great story. I loved it. I got to ask, what did your mom say when you ran into her after the show? Like, did she say anything about that?
No, she for the most part knows how it goes,
Okay.
I've been watching my whole life, so once in a while she would check it out. So she kind of knows how it goes with the, the heel baby face thing, and she knew that I was kind of more of a heel, type of wrestler. So she wouldn't expect any less. She definitely didn't expect that, but yeah, she had fun with it. So
that's cool. And then the other thing is because I'm not a professional wrestler, I think the majority of the people that listen to this show aren't professional wrestlers. We see it on TV, and I cringe every time I see a spot where someone gets slammed onto thumbtacks. What can you describe what like it feels like to be slammed, onto, hundreds or thousands of thumbtacks? Like what your body feels like, what the sensation's like,
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those giant bag poured out all over the ring. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what to expect. It was my first time ever even having thumbtacks in the match, but honestly, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. What was worse in that match was actually getting hit with a chair in my back. That literally sent a unbelievable pain feeling down my spine and back. Just like, whoa. So yeah, it was crazy, man. But the thumbtacks wasn't as bad as I thought. What was more annoying was when I was trying to get up. They were all in my elbows and forearms and my hands and all that stuff. So I'm picking them all out. But it wasn't as bad. But
I never would have thought I'd be sitting here talking to a professional wrestler, someone who does something that I have so much respect and admiration for, tell me that taking a chair shot hurts worse than thumbtacks. I always thought it would have been the other way around. So this is actually pretty insightful. So
maybe I just got lucky that night. I'm not sure, or maybe my singlet saved me from a bunch of that. But it still sucked. It still, was a little painful, but it wasn't as bad as I thought.
So I want to try to get myself back on track here, because I mean, I could talk about stuff like this all day. And so you had the support of like your friends and family. They're coming to your shows and stuff like that. Once you decided, you got the blessing, and you're like you're making this a reality. Where did you go?
Oh, well, originally, like I was saying, I moved to Iowa, kind of spent some time with my dad out there, and it wasn't something I was really expecting to do. It was in wrestling and started out there. But I originally started a little bit of the training out there, and it was pretty basic, just learning the, bumps, rolls, hitting the rope, stuff like that. My training didn't actually start until I, was in Iowa, sold and packed everything that I had, which was basically just a suitcase and a backpack. After I sold everything, and just flew down there. Found an academy down there through a mutual friend that I ran into at an NXT show. So I kind of went out there just aimlessly, no direction, no kind of a plan, but not, a plan that you want that's organized. And so I was like, I'm just going down.
Just kind of almost like you were just gonna kind of go with the flow, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, but in mind, I'm gonna find a school and I'm gonna train. Do this all the way through. So.
Awesome. So when you talked about being, going down to Florida with essentially just, a backpack and stuff, how long did you end up staying down in Florida?
I lived down there for about 7 years. So when I was back in, I moved back up north in 2018. So about 2011, late 2011 is when I moved down there, I believe.
So what else did, because I mean, it's pretty remarkable that, you're leaving pretty much the only place you've called home, going down, somewhere where like you said, you had one person that you knew with nothing but a backpack and stuff. how does one live, in that situation that you're in, you find yourself in? How does that person relocate to an entirely new place and live there for 7 years, just basically with nothing but a backpack?
You just gotta. I mean, it's just one of those things. You just gotta do it. You gotta commit to it and just do it. I mean, if you sit there and think about it, which I did for a long time.
Right.
It's just not gonna happen. You're gonna always put it off. So you just gotta commit and do it. And when I finally did it, even though it was tough, the first maybe year or two, mostly that first year was pretty tough, but I made a lot of friends, made a lot of networking and stuff like that, and I just committed to it. And again, even if it was rough, I was still there doing my thing. I kind of had a few bumps in the road down there, but just like anywhere else,
right.
just gotta keep going.
Go with the flow.
Yes, sir.
And that where did you train down in Florida, and who did you train with?
Yeah, so I trained with a place called DWI Academy. So it's Definitive Wrestling International. It's a indie promotion out of Florida. Now they've been around for, I want to say, maybe 10 years.
Okay.
And the head trainer there, I was trained by Anthony Devlin, who was also the head trainer with Frank Reyes. And I believe they had some affiliation with the Malenkos. But so they split up, had their own schools and stuff. I ended up finding Tony somehow through that mutual friend, and the rest is history. So
that's awesome. So what compare, because again, you're back up, and talking stuff, you're back up, in the Midwest area, Michigan and stuff. How different is the wrestling scene in Michigan compared to Florida?
Oh man, it's night and day. I mean, just even in the Midwest in general, I feel like versus like the South and in Florida especially. But Florida, I mean, you have so many schools and so many reputable schools too, and companies and promotions that you can work for. It's just down there, I feel like I had more places to work that were, I guess, not so far apart. Like I was literally traveling up and down Florida, weekly, stuff like that. Sometimes I'd be wrestling 3-4 times a week at one point. So it's just different. I mean, Florida's wrestling is different than Michigan's wrestling. Just hard to explain, just, from the workers to the atmosphere to the promotion. But personally, my favorite is down south in Florida.
Okay, yeah. Florida has a really passionate fan base down there. And a lot of, as many of and as a lot of my listeners know and stuff, basically right now, Florida is essentially the wrestling capital of the world. I mean, that's where pretty much everybody is. WWE's running in Florida. They're running in Tampa and Orlando. You got AEW running in Jacksonville. I mean, you got Impact, in Tennessee, and you got Ring of Honor in Baltimore. But I mean, there's just so much wrestling action going on in Florida. I mean, we're getting ready. Florida's getting ready to host Wrestlemania, or at least try hosting Wrestlemania, at Raymond James in a couple months and stuff. And speaking of Wrestlemania, as of we're recording this on Sunday, January 31st. The Royal Rumble's in a couple of hours and stuff. And I'm assuming you're going to be watching, correct?
Oh yeah, I always watch the big pay-per-views that I grew up on. But the Royal Rumble next to WrestleMania is my favorite, so I'm definitely tuning in.
So I gotta ask, who are you picking to win the men's Royal Rumble, and who are you picking to win the women's Royal Rumble?
That's a tough one too, man. Like the men's, like I'm hoping that they have some kind of big thing planned or something. I would love to see somebody like Cesaro get an opportunity and win that Royal Rumble. His time, like, dude, it's way past his time, just like it was McIntyre's time, He's a guy that I would love to see. I want to see them go in a different direction. I don't want to see, something that everyone's just going to predict. I think a lot of people are kind of Dan O'Brien.
He's actually my pick.
Yeah. I mean, again, I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. I know he's kind of winded down on his career and stuff like that too, but I wouldn't mind seeing Dan O'Brien, definitely Cesaro. Honestly, I wouldn't be mad about a Brock return, somehow make that a little interesting. I know people are sick of him and this and this and that, but the dude draws money and he's a beast. He's always gonna be that draw. So you never know. Last Rumble they had the show revolved around him pretty much, and and that I didn't expect that at all, and it made it for a great Royal Rumble. So
Right.
I would say any of those guys. And for the women's, I would love to see. Becky's probably gonna make a comeback. I would think make a surprise.
She's rumored.
Yeah, so I wouldn't mind seeing that. I wouldn't mind seeing Ronda Rousey come back. She's been gone for a while. She's a big money draw too. So, I would say those two would be my picks, or Bianca Belair actually.
She's actually my pick to win the women's Royal Rumble.
I mean, she's got it all. She's money, man.
She is, and I think her versus Sasha at WrestleMania would be money. So, So again, Royal Rumble is one of my favorite shows of the year, because it's on kickoff on the road to WrestleMania and that. Has your perception, like when you watch professional wrestling, like has the way you watch wrestling changed from when you were a fan to when you actually become a professional wrestler? Like, do you look at it differently from when you're watching on TV?
Yeah, definitely. Like, being like now in the business and being a wrestler, it's just so different because I feel like everything that I watch, just kind of know what's going on for the most part and stuff. And it's hard to get, shocked and all this crazy stuff. But I always find myself like watching the match and how they actually work and what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And of course, if you see like a botch or, you can tell that they missed a step. You're like, oh yeah, they kind of missed that one or whatever.
Right.
But no, that's just how I see it. I'm always like watching like in the wrestler way, just, it's different now, obviously. So
when you're watching a match, do you sometimes like you'll watch a match? I'll just throw out two random guys. We'll just go with AJ Styles and we'll just say The Miz. Like, if you watch these two go at it, are you like sometimes like kind of watching and maybe seeing things that maybe you could take and maybe put your own little spin on it and maybe incorporate it into your matches? Do you do that all the time? A lot?
Yeah, all the time. I kind of watch for stuff like that, or just little stuff, even like your basic chain wrestling and stuff like that. Little transitions and even submission moves, just everything you possibly think of. I always kind of find myself in that mode too, just kind of watching and learning a little bit, almost like a little bit of study time too at the same time. But for that kind of stuff, I do watch a lot of older stuff. Actually, how I got my finisher, which is called the direct deposit. So Vader does the Vader bomb. So what I did, I go up for the Vader bomb, bounce a couple times on the ropes, and when I release and when I'm in the air, I spin around and land on my back on the
wow.
So that's how I kind of came up with that, is watching Vader do the Vader bomb, because nobody else does it. I don't want to finish it that everybody does.
Right.
You see that too many times, and absolutely nobody does it. So from here on out, if I see anybody doing my finisher, it's because of me. So
yeah, and that's one of the things I really like, that what you just said, and I like the way you explained it, because you wanted to do something that nobody else does, and I think that's great. I think that's awesome, because if you do something that nobody else does, that's going to be just like, that's going to stand out so much more, like to the people in the audience, to the people watching on, like that if you're on, AEW or whatever, that's going to stand out to them. That's going to stand out to the people that watch, like, I'll use CCW as an example, like watch their CCW shows on Amazon Prime and that and stuff. So, one more question, then kind of get back into your kind of your story. You mentioned that you've been a heel primarily throughout your whole career. What is it about being a heel that really, kind of has you like, I like doing this? Like, what is it about being a heel that appeals to you the most?
So much. I mean, honestly, for me, it's a lot easier. When I first started off, I was kind of a baby face. It was cool. Like, I didn't mind it at all. It's easy to do too. But I just found myself not being myself
Mhm.
in that character and being a babyface. And then, with that, I just kind of did the heel thing. I was like, dude, this is so easy and so much more me. It's easier to talk crap because, for one, I kind of, I'm that kind of person, and jokingly mostly, but I talk a lot of crap, and I'm sarcastic. Sometimes people can think I'm a little bit of an a-hole, but I'm not. Just that's just how I am. My dad was like that too. But it's just so much easier, So I brought that into the cool stuff. It's just easy to do, love egging on those, fans and stuff, especially the ones that think they can out talk me and out smack talk me. It's
Yeah.
just not gonna. So it's like, I'll just sit down, know your place, and just either cheer or boo for me. I'd rather you boo.
Right. So I'll keep that in mind when I see you at the show on the 17th. I'll be like, yeah, he's been on my show, but he's an a-hole. I'm gonna boo him. That
Not
kind of
perfect.
and that stuff. But I do like your stance there about why you like being a heel. I think it's great and stuff. But and I'll be honest with you, I love interacting with heels more than the baby faces. Being in the audience and stuff like that. I'll never sit there and try to out smack talk someone because I know like I'm just I'll sit there and jaw jack, but I'm not gonna act like I can out smack because you will probably just leave me in a pile and just walk away, and I will just I'm not going to even chance it because I know it's not going to end well for me if I try. So
Yeah, it'll be a roast session for sure. But there's always that one guy at a wrestling show, the one guy that just talks so much crap. Like just a couple weeks ago, I ran into one dude. I was like, God, I kind of want to kill this dude right now. Just go out there and kick him in the face. I even told, like, he right when I came out, like I had to have been his first time he's ever seen me because I, never wrestled there in Florida before. But immediately on me, and I turned around and I was like, dude, I will kick your ass right now. Side up kids. And so we're kind of going at it the whole show, but that's what makes it.
I'll admit, like, I'll either be sitting with like that person or I'll be sitting somewhere close to that person. And me being the fan that I am, because like I said, I love that kind of that constant back and forth and stuff. I'll sit there and I will do my best to egg that person on to just like, keep going with it and stuff, because then, because it's not me doing it, it's someone else doing it, and I'm getting my kicks, just watching and laughing my ass off, thinking, oh, this is great and stuff. So,
It makes it fun for sure.
Absolutely and stuff. So, and that's one of the reasons why I love independent wrestling so much, is because the interaction between the wrestlers and the crowd is just so much more. There's so much more to it than, even pre-pandemic that I felt like there was in the WWE, because you really didn't see, that much and stuff. So that's one of the reasons why, despite the fact that, I love WWE, I love AEW, I love all the major promotions, it's just indie wrestling holds a special place in my heart because of that interaction and stuff. So
completely different.
Yeah. So, okay. So you spent 7 years in Florida, you come back up to Michigan. When you came back, did you go home? Did you go back to your hometown, or did you go somewhere that was a little, maybe not necessarily exactly home, but close enough?
Yeah, I went back to my hometown, which was kind of weird. I never thought that I would, move back, especially in Florida. All my family's there. And so I was there for a while, and just kind of enjoying the time that I kind of missed with my family and stuff. Because essentially, I was gone from my hometown for probably like 10 years at that point. Because like I said, I moved with my dad for a little bit, spent some time with him in Iowa, and I was there for maybe about 3 years. So it was a while. It was definitely weird. A lot of stuff was the same, but a lot changed. I had a good time kind of reconnecting with some of those old fans, and not fans, but friends, and ran into, people that I went to school with, and, they kind of followed me from what I was doing in wrestling stuff. And, kind of kicked that over. We're just kind of surprised to see me back in the hometown, and, all that stuff. So everyone was kind of excited to see me a little bit.
Now, I'm assuming like your immediate family and like your really close friends, you knew you were coming back, but did everybody know that you were coming back, or was it just a select few that knew you were coming back?
It's a select few because at that, at this point in my life, like I haven't really talked to any, back when you're younger and in your hometown, everybody, talk to everybody.
Mhm.
And then, at this point in my life, I pretty much had an entire new life, entire new friends and, career and all that stuff. So yeah, very select few kind of new, most part of my family. That's really about it.
And I'm sure your mom was pretty happy to have you back home.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She was definitely, I mean, pretty much the entire time that I was gone, she always, kind of hinting here and there, you just move back and blah, blah, especially when times, were a little tough, I'd kind of tell her about it. So she's like, just move it. I'm like, I can't do it.
Right.
So, yeah, she was excited.
That's all. So when you got back to Michigan, did you start wrestling right away, or did you take some time to kind of reacquaint yourself before you got into it?
I took a little bit of time, not very much. So I want to say maybe a month, if that.
Mhm.
Just something that, I wanted to get, stay, consistent and not stop for a long period of time. But then again, like I had no clue about the Midwest or even Michigan, professional wrestling scene. So coincidentally, this dude that I used to wrestle with down in Florida, and I didn't know this, I guess he moved back to Michigan a year before I did.
Okay.
And so it was one of those things where I was kind of on Facebook and I was like, hey, does anybody know of any, promotions in Michigan or in the Midwest? I'm up here now. I'm looking, to work. And then he just randomly messaged me like, hey, I live in this town, which is like 40 minutes away from me. And the rest is kind of history with that too. Like it just kind of followed along, went to promotion, ended up working that same day. And then one thing led to another and another promotion and a promotion after that. It's just turning it all over the place.
Just kind of goes to show that, you get that one person that you hook up with or you become friends with, and it's just, and you make that, you make that connection, you form that relationship, and then you just realize just how vital it was, because look what it did for you. I mean, I look at, when being introduced to and having John Bullard, the owner of CCW on my show, I like that basically that kind of is probably the single best thing I could have done for my podcast, because, having him on, having access to like all you guys and stuff has really done so much for my show, and just, some things coming down the pipeline, I'm going to be doing with him, and that stuff. So it's just stuff I would have never imagined myself doing and probably wouldn't have been doing if I didn't meet him. So it's always great to have that, meet the one person, and just leave that impression on him that like, all this time later, all of a sudden he pops out of the blue. It's like, oh yeah, come work here. I'll get you in or something like that.
Yeah. It's just how it goes, man. It's just always random people like that. You just luckily meet, like John's another one, like, that I'm, very appreciative of too. Like, it was just one of those things where I randomly kind of, messaged the promotion, in regards to like booking stuff.
Right.
And then send him my resume, I guess you could say, and some clips. Like, say, I'm on board, and John's been like probably one of the best bosses I've ever had.
It's so awesome to hear, because I've like I said, I've had a lot of the CCW guys on here, and every time that I bring up John's name, I have not had one wrestler say one bad thing about him. And it's just, it's, and again, knowing him, having gotten to know him in the manner I have and stuff, I wholeheartedly agree. I think he's a genuinely good guy, and it's just so great to see that he's, so respected and revered by all of you guys, like you all, everybody that I've had on talked about, oh yeah, John's the best boss ever. I love coming to work for him. I love when I'm here, I don't feel like I'm at work and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that makes a world of difference too. Cause in wrestling, it's very rare, that you have an awesome boss, like all the way through,
Mm-hmm. So you kind of already answered my question about how you got in connection with John, and got hooked up with CCW and that. So being in that you were in CCW, you had the CCW show in Michigan City, Indiana on October 3rd this past year, you tagged with Tully Bertorelli. Was that your first time in Indiana, or have you wrestled in Indiana prior?
No, I wrestled in Indiana before, just not in Michigan City or CCW. That was kind of my debut for the town and CCW. And with Tully, that was the first time I actually ever met him in person. So it's one of those things where, just click.
Right. And it shows because I mean you guys worked really well together. I legit popped for, the heart attack finisher there. I thought that was great. And such. So now you mentioned that show was the first time you met, your fellow Sin City Playboy Tully Bertarelli. Could the same be said for your other guy, Rockstar Johnny Nye? Was that your first time meeting him as well?
Yeah. And again, like for pretty much that entire roster, except for like maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 guys that I've previously worked for, or not for, but with in other locker rooms, stuff like that. But yeah, it was the first time for a lot of things there.
And what is it like, like you're going to a new organization, you're stepping into a new locker room and stuff like that. Like generally, what is it like, for someone who's new to a promotion, coming in and stuff? Like, what is it like when you walk into that locker room for the first time and, and you see all these guys that have, been there, maybe like the cornerstones of the promotion, or just, what kind of reaction does a new wrestler coming into an organization typically get, or at least from your eyes?
The easiest way I could compare it to is like your first day of like high school.
Okay.
From like middle school to high school, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Like you don't know anybody, but it's always easy for me. Like anytime like I have debuts with new companies, people that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually not too bad. Just go in there, shake hands with everybody, introduce yourself. Kind of get the feel of it. Obviously, introduce yourself to the promoter, and just kind of go from there. Make your talks with everybody. It's just one of those things. It's not hard for me to do, just because in those situations I'm pretty social and stuff like that. And the next thing you know, it's already the night's ended. So it's not bad. Some guys I know it's probably difficult for, but just go out there and introduce yourself and meet new people, network.
Yep.
Fun.
Yeah, so I had a question in mind and now I can't remember what it was here, so I'm trying to think of here. So you talked about, walking in, being respectful, meeting everybody, things like that. A lot of times, everybody talks about, respecting, those who came before you, who paved the way and stuff like that. And I know there's a few people out there that have, gone out and said, I believe Devon Dudley just recently kind of came out and said that he feels like this generation of this generation's wrestlers are rude and disrespectful.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on something of that nature? I mean, would you agree? Would you disagree? What are your thoughts on like the current generation of professional wrestlers, seeing as you're kind of part of that generation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of part of that generation, but also I'm more, old school, I guess you could say. But again, like I'm not part of really the new generation of these new kids. But I mean, I agree with them for the most part. I agree with them 100%. I mean, I try to stay out of that stuff and not give my opinion usually, but I mean, I agree with them 100%. Like I just see a lot of the new generation guys coming up or fresh out of school or been in it for maybe a year or two. Like it just kind of seems like these, kids are a little assholes sometimes and just come off a little entitled. And I don't know, just it's hit or miss with that stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's guys, and that's one thing too. I feel like that should be trainer too. That should be the number one thing that should be taught too. Is, have respect for the ones that paved the way for you. Respect this business. Respect anybody. And then also too is like, I mean, that's just how I am in general. I was raised the right way. You respect people, respect your peers, respect your elders, stuff like that. So I mean, that's one of those things that's just all over the place. But it's just something I see a lot of. Not everyone's like that, but I think a lot of it's just on the actual person itself, and sometimes on the trainer too. But you definitely want to respect those that paved the way.
Right. So a lot of times, independent shows to draw crowds, in, or to get bigger crowd, especially if they're doing like a bigger show, things like that. They usually will bring in a legend or someone that may have just been recently released from one of the major companies that still has some name value out there, and stuff. Have you ever been like wrestled on a show where like someone, let's just say, someone would bring in, say, like Jake the Snake Roberts, or I just like Bret Hart, just somebody that's maybe you grew up watching or saw on TV. Have you ever been a part of any of those shows?
God, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I mean, I've been on shows with bigger names that haven't got released or whatever and stuff like that. Just can't think of anything off the top of my head. I've met some legendary people that I grew up watching and stuff like that. It's kind of a funny story real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't at a wrestling show. It was actually like the first job I got when I was down in Florida. I was waiting tables at Olive Garden.
Okay.
And yeah, so I saw a group, maybe like 6 or 8 people come in, and some of these guys were big, jacked up beefcakes and older looking guys,
Uh-huh.
And next thing you know, Jimmy Hart walks in. I'm like, whoa! You can tell who Jimmy Hart is because he dressed the same and everything too, and his his hair and all that stuff. He was still wearing the glasses, and I almost freaked out there for a minute, but kind of kept my composure. And everyone's like, "What's your problem?" All my coworkers and stuff. I'm like, "You guys know who that is? It's Jimmy Hart." Like, no, they're obviously not wrestling fans and stuff like that. And I just kept talking about it, and they're like, "Why don't you just go?" Because it wasn't my table that they were sitting at; it was another server's table. And so the girl server, she was like, "Well, why don't you just go bring them? I got their drinks. Go bring it to them, and blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh, all right." So I went over there, and I have the drinks on a tray, and I'm setting them down. I'm kind of like, being a little mark inside, and I I go to set Jimmy's drink down. I'm like, my hands like shaking a little bit. Here you go, And then I, immediately walked away. So I'm doing my own thing with my tables, getting their orders, stuff like that. And maybe 10 minutes later, I'm in like the side station filling up drinks and stuff like that, where only the workers could be. Right. And I feel a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and Jimmy Hart's like right in my face. He's like, "Well, hello there." And I was like, hey, how's it going? How you doing? And he was like, "Well, I heard you're a big fan." I'm like, "Yes, sir. Very nice to meet you." And blah, blah, blah. He's like, "Tell you what, let's go outside on the patio and let's, take a few pictures." I'm like, "Really?"
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, all right. Like, I didn't even ask or anything. He came up to me and just offered. We talked for a couple minutes, took pictures. He was like, "You know what? I'll tell you what. Let's do a different position, maybe better lighting, and just totally like he didn't have to do it. Just came up to me. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, Jimmy Hart is a class act. I met him at a wrestling convention. It was Starcast 3. It was the weekend of AEW's All Out, and couldn't have been any nicer. I mean, I've got like 2 really good pictures with him and stuff. I got one where it's like I'm yelling into his megaphone and it's just, I loved hearing this story because your experience with Jimmy Hart pretty much mirrored my experience meeting him. And he's just one of those guys that, man, it's just, you have those experiences meeting these guys that you grew up watching on TV. And when they're so good to you, it just makes you love and respect them that much more.
Yeah, man, he was genuinely a very nice dude. They don't have to do any of that kind of stuff. He's kind of went his way, so that's pretty cool.
And that's the thing, like he it's not like you went to him and asked, for a picture or an autograph. He came to you and it's like, "Oh, I heard you're a fan, let's go take it." I mean, that's really cool. And again, I'm thinking to myself as I'm listening to you tell the story, it's like, that's Jimmy for you.
Yeah. And he didn't even charge me. This is what I first when I first started training in Florida too. So I wasn't even like in the business, so I could mark out without feeling like a wrestling mark. So
now, did he know, or did you tell him that you were training to be a pro wrestler?
Yeah, I let him know. Like, I was like, "Yeah, just moved down here, not too long ago, started training and stuff like that." It's just, just go out there and keep doing it. Don't give up. And, just small little pep talk like that. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where I couldn't talk forever too, because I was literally in the middle of my shift and it was like lunch runs and everything like that. So kind of had to keep it minimal.
Right. And I was going to ask you if he gave you any advice, but I mean, it's nice that he gave you that little pep talk and stuff. So,
Yeah.
and that's so, but yeah, so pretty much just about done here and stuff. So I got a couple more questions I wanted to ask. One, so what is it like being a part of a faction? 'Cause like I said, you're 1/3 of the Sin City Playboys. You guys are all managed by I believe it's Bo Anderson.
Yep.
And that's so what is it like being part of a faction versus kind of being your own guy?
I don't know if it's different. I like it. It's the first time I've ever done it, really.
Okay.
I've been a part of a couple tag teams here and there and stuff like that, and I've kind of brief. I've been mostly singles wrestler and stuff like that, but I dig it. It's cool, man. I like it. Especially when you get some guys that you click with, and you just can't beat it. It's fun, and you get to beat people up doing it. So
we all know how much fun you heels have beating people up.
Oh yeah, I mean, you saw firsthand. Me and Tully, we put the hurting on the thieves over there. So
yeah, you did. Time. You guys got the win. You guys looked great doing it. I'm really excited for your match coming up here. In a couple months. At the next CCW show, and I'm going to give you a couple minutes here. I'm going to give you a chance to talk about that and stuff. So, but so. We talked about you're watching the Royal. We're both watching the Rumble here later today, and that so obviously you follow the current product. I'm assuming, correct?
Yeah.
So who are some of the guys like that you're fans of now? Like the guys that are on TV every week.
Trying to think. I like AJ a lot. I've always liked AJ.
Yeah.
He's part of the WWE finally. Samoa Joe is a big one. Adam Cole, he's a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait for him to finally get some kind of opportunity.
Right.
I like Killer Cross or Karrion Kross. Yeah, I like him a lot. I love what Roman's doing now.
Me too.
Like hands down, anytime he's on the TV, I'm watching.
Yeah,
that's good. Just everything, every little thing that he does, like just facial expressions, how he just sits there and just everything. And then Paul in the background, everything he does, like it's perfect. It fits him, and he's doing awesome with that. So I'd say those are probably my top guys for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah. My 5-year-old son's favorite wrestler is Roman Reigns. So, and he's just starting to get into it. And every time I ask him, I'm like, Matthew, who's your favorite wrestler? He goes, Roman Reigns. So he's, so I'm glad that I hope he sticks with it, because this is something I've always wanted to. This is something I've always wanted to do. When I found out I was going to be dad, it was like, and I was going to have a son. I was like, I hope I can. This would be like our thing to do together as we watch wrestling and stuff. So I'm just waiting for him to kind of develop that attention span.
Yeah, he's gonna start liking everyone that you don't like.
You know what? Even if he likes the guys I don't like, it'll make for interesting conversation and interactions. Come pay-per-view Sundays or Monday nights or Friday nights for SmackDown and stuff. So, and that
fun little WrestleMania parties.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Speaking of WrestleMania, have you been to any WrestleMania?
Yes, I actually went to WrestleMania 13 in Chicago back in 1997. I was there for Brett versus Austin in the infamous double turn. So
nice.
Yeah, so it's the only one I've been to. I had a chance to go to WrestleMania 22 when it was in Chicago, but for some reason I can't remember why I didn't go. But I did go to Raw with the night after at the Allstate Arena, the night after and stuff. Yeah, I can cross WrestleMania off my bucket list. I have been to one. What about you?
Yeah, dude, I've been to, my first one was 23 in Detroit.
Nice.
That was sweet, man. That was so cool, especially, being my first time. And then like right after the show was over, literally after, Cena beat HBK. So they're closing down, the end of the show. And I think it was Josh Matthews that was out there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, got a camera walking around to where our seats were, walking around with a camera and a microphone. I'm like, oh crap, I wonder what they're gonna do. And he randomly came up to me. He's like, hey, do you want to do an interview real quick? I'm like, yeah, sure. Some young punk kid, all giddy and excited. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So then he interviews. So, what are your thoughts on Wrestlemania? And I shit the bed. I mean, it was funny. Like, I wish I could find it now. It used to be on their website, but I just kind of freaked out. I was like, oh my God, it was so cool. And blah, 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 just going off. And I'm like, man, that was embarrassing after I watched it. But they changed, like, the website back in the day used to be like Windows Media Player for the videos.
Yeah.
And now that they switched it to like the ones that they have with ads and stuff, you can't even, like, I have the link saved. I've had it saved for a long time in hopes that I can like save the video somehow.
Right.
But it won't work or won't pull up like in the media player at all. So that's a bummer. I tried writing them actually. I was like, hey, please let me somehow get a copy. It's like I emailed them, left them a message too. It's like, please let me get a copy of this. But no response.
Yeah, I know. I kind of had a similar experience. I went to All Out back in 2019. My friend and I, we got to sit second row from the ring, facing the hard camera and stuff. And as they just opened the arena, we just got our merch and we went to our seats, and they had a gentleman who works for Fight TV, Josh Chernoff. I don't know if you're familiar with that name and stuff. He was over, we just got in our seat, and he comes over to me and my friend. He's like, hey, I'm Josh Chernoff. I work for Fight TV. Would you like to, can I do an interview with you guys and stuff? And we were like, yeah, sure. Cause he interviewed us. Cause they were doing hyping up the show, trying to get people to, buy the show and stuff. I think they were doing it for the international market and stuff. I think and stuff. But it's just, and I'm thinking to myself, as a case like it's like, don't sound stupid, don't say anything stupid, don't do anything stupid, and I think I pulled it off. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure my voice squeaked at one point. I was like, oh, like, yeah, dude, like, it was being recorded and stuff. I just flipped out. I don't know. It's one of those things, man. I'll never forget it.
That was a good time and stuff. So that's basically it. And then before I let you go, normally before I let my guests go, I give them a chance some time to plug any upcoming events, and if you have merch, how you can buy it. So tell the audience here about shows you got coming up, and also how can fans buy Solomon Stone merchandise.
Yeah, the next show I have will be for Generation Championship Wrestling. The event is called The Love of Wrestling, and that is February 13th in Sanford, Florida. And then you can follow me on The Gold Rush /, 83 on Facebook. Let's see, I just changed my Twitter handle. It is on Twitter, The Gold Rush 22. YouTube, it's Showtime 83. And then I have merch, all kinds of merch. I actually have 4 designs up now, which I'll actually be designing another one, brand new, by yours truly. That will be up soon on Pro Wrestling Tees / The Gold Rush. So get your Solomon Stone merch while you can.
And guys, be sure to take advantage. Starting later on today, when this episode drops, and going through Wednesday, Pro Wrestling Tees is doing a customer appreciation sale. I believe it's 20% off everything, and I believe also free shipping. So this would be the perfect time to buy your Solomon Stone merchandise and that. So
get it
and stuff. So, but Solomon, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this. I'm glad we finally were able to nail down a time to make this work. And that, I had a blast. And if I don't, I'm sure I'll be talking to you beforehand and stuff. But if I don't, I will definitely see you at the April 17th Chicagoland Championship Wrestling show that you'll be a part of. And real quick, I don't know if you were aware of this or not, but my group that I'm a part of on Facebook, Pro Wrestling Junkies, we're actually sponsoring your guys' match. So,
hey man, that is awesome. We appreciate that as well. The Sin City Playboys are going to treat you real good for sponsoring our match. So
all right, I'm gonna hold you to that, and I'm gonna remember that. Because little bit of a fun fact about that show coming up on the 17th. This is the day before my birthday, so.
Ooh. All right. We'll see what kind of surprise we can bring for you.
I appreciate that, man. I'd love to party with the Sin City Playboys, man. COVID screwed up my birthday last year. I'm not gonna let it screw up my birthday this year, so.
Up a lot of things. We'll change that in 2021, right?
Right on. So, all right, my man. Well, hey, have a great day. Thanks so much for doing this. Enjoy the Royal Rumble, and I will be talking to you soon.
All right, brother. Thank you.
You got it.
Hello, wrestling fans. Steve Aaron here, one half the commentary team of Chicagoland Championship Wrestling, also the general manager of Chicago Style Wrestling. And you are listening to What Do You Say with DDJ.
I want to give a big shout out to Solomon Stone for taking time out of his day to have a conversation with me. Really enjoyed the talk, really enjoyed the stories, and you can check him out in action here coming up on February 13th. Information will be coming across the screen if you're watching this on YouTube, and if not, if you're listening to this on audio, you can find the information in the episode description. Solomon will also be in action along with the rest of the Sin City Playboys on Saturday night, April 17th, 2021, as part of Chicagoland Championship Wrestling Saturday Night Grapple Masters. Information for that show is coming across the screen if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're listening to the audio version, that info will be in the episode description as well. More on the Chicagoland Championship Wrestling show in a couple of minutes here. You can also go to ProWrestlingTees.com and search Solomon Stone and get yourself an awesome Solomon Stone t-shirt. And be sure to take advantage of the customer appreciation sale that will be happening Monday through Wednesday. Information is on the screen if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you are listening to this via audio, it will be in the episode description as well. But the sale is 20% off everything with free USA shipping. So yes, be sure to not only grab a Solomon Stone shirt, but stock up on some things you may have had sitting in your cart for a while. Alrighty, guys, it is announcement time. Two big announcements that I have been teasing for the past few days. The first announcement concerns the April 17th show for CCW Saturday Night Grapple Masters. This podcast, What Do You Say with DDJ, will be sponsoring a match. We'll be sponsoring the match with Mr. 3%, Jonathan Hudson, the future CCW World Heavyweight Champion, who will be accompanied to the ring by his crew, the Chicago Connection. He'll be going up against Chip Walker. That's announcement number one. Announcement number two, I alluded to the Pro Wrestling Tee sale, 20% off everything. One other shirt that you can get now on ProWrestlingTees.com is the official What Do You Say with DDJ shirt. You can just type in What Do You Say with DDJ when you go onto ProWrestlingTees.com or search under Pro Wrestling Junkies, and you can find the official What Do You Say with DDJ podcast shirt. It comes in all sizes, adults, kids, soft style, basically any kind of shirt you want, get it. I would greatly appreciate the support. And if you're kind enough to purchase the shirt, I'll get you a shout out on the show. And if you can provide a picture of you wearing the shirt, I will be sure to put it up in the YouTube version so everyone can see how awesome you look in this brand new shirt. So yeah, the big announcements again. What Do You Say with DDJ is sponsoring a match at the CCW April 17th show. And I officially have a t-shirt on ProWrestlingTees.com right now. So please, please, please support the show and buy a shirt. Well, that's all the time I have this week. Thanks again for listening. And I'll be back in another week with a brand new episode of What Do You Say with DDJ. Thanks so much. Buy my shirt.